Hello, I'm Ellen Horan, President and CEO of the Greater Reading Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I'm here for this week's Member Spotlight with Jeanette, who is President of QubComm. Welcome, Jeanette.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Just a little bit of a background on what's your 30-second elevator pitch on what it is that QubComm does.
We like to think of ourselves as the corporate communications department in the virtual cubicle next door. So if you're a company that's not big enough to have your own corporate communications department, we're kind of an outside vendor for that purpose.
Which virtually all chamber members would fit into that category. Now, from what I read on your website, you were in corporate America for 17 years in the healthcare industry, and you decided to go off on your own in 2007. I'm sure there are a lot of people that dream about doing that.
There are.
What advice would you have for people that are working in corporate America and are thinking about moving out on their own?
It's actually, there's never a bad time. My business grew through the recession. My accountant was like, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
The trick is not to mass market yourself. The trick is to become a preferred vendor. You find, you target a company, you say, this is my knowledge of what I know how to write about. And for me, that is health insurance, wellness programs, health industry in general. And Fortune 500 list is my shopping list.
Okay.
I go through, I look for companies that I want to write for. You go onto the website, Google procurement department, and the name of the company, and the instructions will come up, and it'll tell you how to become a preferred vendor at that company.
Okay, so you did very targeted marketing, nationwide, sounds like, not just the local
Fortune
region.
500.
And then talk to us about the amount of follow-up that takes. You don't just send a letter and
no,
get
and
in
it's
the
really
door.
It's well, I don't send a letter. It's usually their websites have forms to fill out.
Okay.
You probably will have to provide your resume, writing samples, but designers can get work the same way. Anybody really who wants to do any work for I think any field it would work for. But for me, that makes me a preferred vendor. It doesn't get the managers to call me. I used my previous employer as my first client, got a reputation already there, so they came right to me. As people leave the company and go to other companies, they take your name with you and stuff like that. So my business grew faster than I could keep up with it.
Yeah, excellent, wonderful. And as you said, starting a business right before the recession, that certainly is saying
It was 2007, yeah.
Now, what have been your biggest challenges?
I'm trying to expand, and it's the reason why I joined the chamber, into looking at mid-sized companies. One, they need help. They really do. Every time I read something, I'm like, oh, please, you need my help. But sometimes, as a writer for hire, my biggest challenge is I like to charge my rates as project rate, like a flat rate for the project as opposed to an hourly rate.
Right.
Because when you're really good, or the more you write about a specific topic, the faster and better you become at it.
Sure.
But the faster and better, if you're being paid an hourly rate and you're being faster and better at it, you're actually being punished. Because this year you're writing something on the same topic you wrote last year, you're getting paid less to do it. So I'm not a fan of hourly rates for writers, but in the beginning, when you have a new client, then it's kind of a necessity because you have to establish an average, But the challenge that I'm having as a business is that big companies, they only want to pay by the hour. They don't want to pay flat rates. And I can understand that, but as a writer for hire, you can only ever earn as much as there are hours in the day. And as a business, that doesn't give my profitability any hope. So I can only be as profitable as I hire a new person, that person is making the same amount I am. I hire another new person, that person.
Right.
But I'm trying to grow the business, and for me to do that, I need to find a way to write it once, sell it many times.
Got it.
You know, like any publisher.
Sure.
And that's what I do for like newsletter articles for employers who have a newsletter, but they don't have time to deal with it. And I've met so many companies that do.
Yeah,
they have HR managers who want to put out a newsletter, but they can't because they don't have the time. They even if they want a quarterly one, it ends up being twice a year or something like that. So this is what I'm trying to help them fill this void by at the same time writing articles that are hot topics.
Right.
Writing for the Fortune 500s for over the years, I realize it's the same topic over and over again. They just put a personal spin on it.
Okay.
You know, like an airline company is going to say they want things in flight, you know, or a fuel company is power up, you know. They have their little, you know,
hooks.
But but the small companies, they don't need that. But they still want to talk about the same topics. And we're talking topics like HSAs, or telling your employees how to cut back on their expenses, especially if they're a self-funded company, you know, who is paying the claims for their employees' health insurance. Wellness in the workplace, very big these days.
Right.
A lot of topics to cover in there. So what I'm doing is writing newsletter articles and trying to get them out to trying to find you know, mid-sized
selling
companies
the content
who need it
versus selling
where I can write the article because it's an article that's I mean I can customize a little bit, but it's one article that I can sell again and again and again without having to rewrite it, and that is what I'm hoping for my business to be able to, you know, make it more profitable instead of not that it's not profitable, but I'm limited on
to
profit,
take it to another level.
Exactly.
I get that. Now, what I'm hearing from you is that what you're doing is fitting what we're reading about as a current trend, which is the gig economy. Have you thought of yourself as being a part of the gig economy?
I don't even know what that means.
That means you're selling yourself to companies for a gig here, a gig there.
No, absolutely not. The opposite is true. A lot of freelance writers do that. They market and market and market out there to get that. But when you do that procurement thing that I was talking about, you get in there. Fortune 100 companies have 50,000 employees. Once you are an approved vendor at one of those companies, any one of those 50,000 employees who has a cost center and a writing need can hire me.
Right.
And
you know what I loved hearing about it is you're not afraid to deal with the big corporations.
Well, I work there.
Someone, you know, working out of your home and just learning the proper way to do it.
I was once a hiring manager at a Fortune 100 company, and because of that, I'm like the least intimidating person on earth.
You can understand. You know how to do it.
So I'm like, how intimidating can they be? I was one.
Well, that's a good tip. I think you've probably inspired some of our members out there to not be afraid to do that and just learn the ropes of how you do it. Now, with work, I assume do you work from home, correct?
Yes, I do.
What are some of the challenges you have with that? Do you have the discipline you're able to balance that well?
I have no problem whatsoever. Working for big companies, though, you do need to, a lot of freelance writers get into the business just so that they can work part-time. So they can work the hours they feel like working. You can't do that. You want a big major company as a client, then you need to work when they work, because when they email you, they expect a response. When they call you, they expect a response. I show up for work 6 o'clock. I'm an early bird. And I work until the day is over. Sometimes I put in 10, 12-hour days. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes, you know, if I get around to, you know, by 8 o'clock. But I'm usually at my desk by 8 and done by 5, if not earlier and later. Never in between, though. You know. And if I take vacation, I let my clients know when I'm going to be away. You know, I work as though I am an extension of their company in the virtual cubicle next door. Which is where the name QubComm comes from.
Exactly.
QUB.
Very good. I like that.
Quality Business Communications. QUBComm. Cubicle next door.
Very good. Jeanette, thank you very much for
joining
us today. Appreciate it learning about your business.
Oh, good. Thank you so much.